Club football has returned after the international break, and it did so with quite a spectacle. The Premier League resumed on Saturday, delivering an action-packed weekend of top-tier football. In fact, the entertainment was so high that nearly every match was a thriller, keeping fans on the edge of their seats. Now it's time to reflect on the weekend and draw out the key lessons learned from Game Week 4 of the Premier League. Here are 10 crucial takeaways. First, it's become even more evident that Erling Haaland is not your average footballer. This player came tantalizingly close to making Premier League history by scoring hat tricks in 3 consecutive games. Unfortunately for Brentford, he had to settle for just 2 goals. His second goal, where he shrugged off a defender, was proof that Haaland is like a finely engineered machine. At this rate, he may secure the Premier League Golden Boot well before the season is over. Remarkably, Haaland has now scored 9 goals, while Chelsea, the second highest scoring team after Manchester City, has only managed 8. It's mind-blowing. Another revelation is Manchester City's dominance. After just 4 games, they are the only team with a perfect record. Although they've had to come from behind on a few occasions, they always find a way to win. Their closest rivals, Liverpool and Arsenal, have already dropped points. While it's still early, City could well be on their way to securing their 5th Premier League title in a row. What's scary is that they've barely begun to incorporate their 2-star players from last season, Phil Foden and Rodri, into their matches. Chelsea, however, might surprise everyone this season. Under their new managers,
Enzo Maresca,
the club seems to have a clear strategy, and the depth of talent at their disposal is impressive. Bournemouth gave them a tough game, but Chelsea's ability to bring on key players like Kai Cuckoo and Jadon Sancho made the difference. On another day, we might see different players like João Felix or Mykhailo Mudryk step up. But one thing is certain, Chelsea has a strong bench, and that will make them a tough team to beat. Game Week 4 also highlighted how difficult it will be to predict which teams will face relegation this season. Newly promoted Ipswich held their own against a strong Brighton team, which had already beaten Chelsea and performed admirably against Manchester United and Arsenal. Leicester has also picked up points in their first few games. While it's tempting to think that teams like Southampton or Everton will be relegated, their experience in avoiding the drop makes it hard to say for sure. We also saw the emergence of John Duran as one of the Premier League's top finishers. Among players who have scored 5 or more goals this season, Duran boasts the second-best goals-to-games ratio, behind only Haaland. He has a knack for scoring spectacular goals, and at just 20 years old, he's definitely one to watch. Finally, the North London derby gave us a glimpse of a bright young star, Arsenal's Ethan Nwaneri. Although he only played 10 minutes against Tottenham, the 17-year-old showed incredible maturity. In a depleted Arsenal midfield missing key players like Declan Rice and Martin Odegaard, Nwaneri played a pivotal role in helping his team hold on to their narrow lead. It's exciting to imagine what more he could bring to the squad, and it'll be interesting to see if Mikel Arteta gives him more opportunities in the future. These are just a few of the key things we learned from Game Week 4. The season is shaping up to be both thrilling and unpredictable, with plenty of twists and turns to come. We all hope for a day when referees and officials don't dominate the headlines, but unfortunately, that day hasn't arrived. Game Week 4 taught us that Premier League referees are handing out yellow cards like candy, often without any real justification. Take the Chelsea versus Bournemouth match, for example. It wasn't a particularly rough game, yet we saw 14 yellow cards handed out, setting a Premier League record for the most in a single match. To put this into perspective, remember that chaotic game between Argentina and the Netherlands at the 2022 World Cup? The one with brawls and reckless tackles. That game saw 14 yellow cards shown over 120 minutes. Meanwhile, Chelsea and Bournemouth racked up the same number in just 90 minutes. It's way over the top. The next day, we saw something similar in the North London derby between Spurs and Arsenal. It tied the record for the most yellow cards handed out in the first half of a Premier League game. Referees need to work on better controlling the flow of the match instead of constantly reaching for their pockets. But let's move on from the referees. Game Week 4 also reminded us that this season might belong to the goalkeepers. Several goalies, including Robert Sanchez and Andre Onana, shone this week, saving penalties and keeping clean sheets. David Raya performed brilliantly as usual, and Originette Murik made 6 saves, keeping a clean sheet that helped Ipswich secure a valuable point. Then there's Ederson, who not only kept a clean sheet, but also recorded an assist, his 4th in Premier League history. Incredible, right? It's looking like a great season for goalkeepers, and we can't wait to see more of their heroics. Another trend from Gameweek 4 is the rise of dramatic comebacks. Crystal Palace erased a 2-goal deficit to draw with Leicester City. Aston Villa overturned a 2-goal deficit to defeat Everton, and Newcastle came from behind to beat Wolves. It seems like we're in for a season full of thrilling comebacks, and who doesn't love that? Lastly, we were reminded that Ange Postecoglou remains as confident as ever. Despite his Spurs side dominating Arsenal for much of the game, they ultimately lost, marking their 2nd defeat in 4 matches and leaving them 13th in the league. But if you thought Ange's confidence had taken a hit, think again. When asked in a post-match interview whether his team could win any silverware this season, he responded by saying that in his 2nd seasons, he doesn't just win something, he wins everything. That's some serious swagger for a manager who just lost to his team's biggest rivals. The real question is, can Ange back up his bold talk by actually delivering trophies this season? We'll have to wait and see. So, what did you think? Share your thoughts in the comments and let us know if you learned anything new from Gameweek 4. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss any content. See you in the next one.